Welcome to Petty Details, where we skip down a tree-lined lane of conversation on subjects from music to history and everything in between. Join Meg and Monica in our quest for nuggets of knowledge on all kinds of different subjects. Our journey will drop some petty details on you that you didn't know you needed to know until now. All right. Hi, everybody.
What's up?
Welcome to Petty Details. Today we are talking about weirdest and most fun PR stunts. These are like public relation ads and stuff like that.
Heck yeah.
Y'all ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we are going to go in the Wayback Machine.
How far back are we going?
We are going into the early 1950s.
Okay.
Oh,
So there's this guy named Ed Cole. He is promoted to chief engineer at Chevrolet. Then he's promoted to general manager, then a VP. Cole decided that Chevy needed some new engineering advancements and designs to compete with the other car companies like Volkswagen. This guy is also known as the father of the Corvette and the small block Chevy V8. Kind of a big deal.
A little bit.
Yeah. So Cole starts to see these other car companies doing really well with these smaller cars, right? Chevy's making boats. You've seen some 50 Chevys, right? So
They're land yachts.
Exactly. So this guy decides that instead of doing what other American car companies are doing around this time, this is like the Ford and the Chryslers, which is just putting V6s in their car and making them only about 20% smaller. He's going to go big or go home. So his idea was to look at the Volkswagen Beetle, which I believe you had one, Monica.
I did. That was my first car. It was a 1974 Volkswagen Beetle.
Nice.
Loved that
Loved
car.
it, right?
I did. I missed that car, actually.
What was your
It
first
was a lot
car,
of fun.
Cam?
I had a 2007. It was a GMC Sierra.
Okay.
What was yours, Meg?
81 Buick Skylark.
Yes.
Loved that thing. Loved it. All right, so he's going to do a Chevy version of a Beetle.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Can you guys like figure out what this car is? Just by me saying that? No?
No,
if it
I'm
was
trying
my
to...
dad on this podcast, he'd probably tell you it immediately.
Same. That's... I grew up around cars too, and I'm sitting here trying, like, racking my brain. I'm like, how am I not picturing this?
My dad and my brother have all that knowledge.
Well, you guys are going to have to tell your dad and your brother this story because I didn't know this story, and this story's cool. Story's
Okay.
cool. So, he tells his guys to design this compact car with a rear-mounted, mostly aluminum, air-cooled engine. Okay, it's totally different than anything that's out there, right? And in 1960, the Chevrolet Corvair was released.
Okay. Yep.
All
Corvair.
Okay.
The air, yeah, Corvair.
Yep.
Corvair.
So this car is actually pretty revolutionary. It's got independent suspension. It's got the unibody construction. And it actually was so popular when it first came out that it sold about 26,000 of them in the first 2 days.
Holy
Whoa.
crap. Seriously?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's when you know you made something. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Chevy decides to market this little rear-wheel drive compact car by doing a road trip, of course.
Naturally.
Duh, right? Okay, so
the
this
first
is
thing
where
I would have thought of.
Right?
Yeah.
This is where it gets fun. So in 1961, they decide they're going to take 3 Corvairs, 2 Chevy Suburbans, and a fuel truck through the jungle of South America. Not doing Route 66, like they're doing jungle of South America.
Not even, I was going to say, not even an American road trip.
No, they're doing a road trip, right? With no roads.
South of the border.
Yeah.
Nice.
So this group of about 12 guys, they head down from Chicago and they head to this place called the Darien Gap. Okay. And it's this little crazy piece of jungle that separates Panama from Colombia. Even to this day, the Darien Gap has no roads. So this is a road trip with no roads.
Off-roading in a Corvair.
Yeah.
That sounds
They
like
said
fun.
we're gonna go big.
Yeah,
Go big
right?
or go home.
Yeah.
So this is
a compact
And what
yeah.
car
It's a compact family car.
a-
Yeah.
in
with a
what world are
rear-mounted
you
air-cooled
driving
engine.
it through?
Yeah. And this is only
Off-roading in
about
the jungle.
60 miles, okay? It's only
Oh,
about 60
jeez.
miles, but it's mountains, jungles, swamps, rivers.
Yeah.
It's got its share of scary creatures, obviously, that will try and kill you,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
some of the worst terrain you can imagine. So the whole goal is to shoot 2 promo films
Mhm.
that are going to show America how great these cars are, even in the worst condition. Except nobody's ever tried to drive this gap in anything, let alone this compact family car. Okay. So this group starts off in January of 61. They leave Panama City. And in Panama, this is the beginning of the dry season.
Mm.
Problem is, this group is half-ass prepared for this trek. Okay.
They're going in Corvairs,
Yeah.
obviously.
The
Super
only,
prepared.
the only
For
vehicle
real.
that has 4-wheel drive is the Suburbans.
Yep.
Obviously, because what else are you going to do, right?
Right.
So the only thing that they did to these Corvairs were they put skid pads to protect the fuel tanks.
Mhm.
And they added tow hooks to the front and the back.
No.
So the Suburbans could pull them out when they
Yeah.
get stuck.
Mhm.
Oh gosh.
So they're like going, they've got some off-road tires, they've got some winches, they've got some extra parts. That's it.
Oh
So obviously here's the problem is that there are no roads,
Mm.
no bridges, no cut paths, obviously no cell phones, not that they would even work there, but this is 1961, so
yeah.
Right.
there's tons of mud even in the dry season, and especially mud holes that you can't see because of all the vegetation on the ground. Not to mention the spiders and snakes and ticks. Oh my.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine the size of these spiders if they were as big as the Corvairs?
Oh. Yeah, they weren't expecting that in testing. They didn't come across giant spiders.
Right.
No, and these mosquitoes, they're so big they'd carry my dog off.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Cletus would be like, help me.
Help me.
So these guys don't even have a real map of this place.
No.
Yeah, they've just got a hand-drawn map that some dude like in Panama gave them.
This is insane.
Yeah, it's
This
crazy.
is some awesome preparation.
Right?
Like,
So
wow.
they have to start like cutting this vegetation with machetes to carve a path so they can even get through this. They had to build their own rafts to forge the rivers, like freaking Oregon Trail here.
Okay,
Dude.
how did they recruit the people to go on this road trip?
Oh,
Like,
I'm
Free trip to
obviously-
Panama?
Yes.
yeah, I'm sure it was like, hey, so we're gonna shoot this cool film. It's gonna be fun.
And
We're
then
gonna give
when
you
they,
some money,
when
and
they,
then they get
newest
there and they're like,
vehicle.
what the hell?
when
Yeah,
they dropped him in Panama City, they're like, oh, by the way, but it's not going to be here. We're going to go a little bit
A
away
little
from
way.
the city.
it's only
Um,
60 miles. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't forget your machete.
Yeah,
Like, it's fine.
Mhm.
It's fine. It'll be
Mhm.
And you'll
fine.
make it because you have the car.
that's right.
Exactly. Yes.
It's got
This
a tow
this
hook.
little
It's
compact
fine.
family vehicle. Oh, good
So they
times.
even have to use a tractor at one time to haul out these cars across the river because it was moving so fast. This river's moving so fast, like they can't get across this river.
Like,
There are stories that one of the Suburbans ended up sliding down a crevice and shattered an axle.
oh, jeez.
Yeah. The fuel truck
Shattered.
Yeah. The fuel
Dang.
truck fell down 150 feet after a winch line broke.
I mean, if you're going to show
Did
off how
it-
your vehicles are durable, sure.
Yeah.
Well, so far
Are
it's not
they-
the Corvairs though. It's just
Yeah,
the
it's
fuel
not-
truck and
it's the
Suburban.
other-
So
it's the
They
whatever.
should have
support
been filming all
vehicles.
that and been like, look, they're holding up.
Yep.
Yep. It's the support vehicles.
Yeah, it's fine. So if this story is correct about the fuel truck being lost, this explains why they ended up leaving one of the Corvairs in the jungle because they didn't have enough gas to continue.
Dang.
Not because it got stuck, because they ran out of gas.
Okay. Huh.
Okay.
I wonder if that
So
Corvair is still there.
That's what
it
I'm
is.
saying.
It is?
That's
It
so
is.
cool.
What? Okay,
Mhm.
now I want to go find it.
Okay, now we have to take a trip. Yeah.
Right?
I don't know if you're gonna want to do that after this. So one of the guys got
Oh.
malaria and had to be sent to the hospital.
Sounds all right. Mosquitoes, yeah.
Yeah. But it's
That's how they
okay.
be.
Right?
It's
This
okay.
is so cool. Okay, so this whole crazy adventure takes about 100 days to get 60 miles. Okay. Yeah.
Oh my god.
2 of the Corvairs actually made it. This is incredible.
What?
Wow, even after they lost the gas truck?
Uh-huh. Like I
Insane.
said, they had to leave one of the Corvairs
Wow.
because the
They
gas.
ran out of
Didn't have enough
gas, yeah.
gas.
But 2 of these Corvairs actually made it.
Okay.
So all 3 of them probably would have made it.
If they had enough gas, yeah.
Yeah. So sadly though, this didn't make a big splash like anywhere.
Well,
This is
yeah,
why you've never
'cause
heard of it.
because the Corvette,
Yeah.
because it's not an off-road vehicle. Like, had it
Right.
been built to be an off-road vehicle, this would have been fantastic.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
they like this should have been marketed better, but it wasn't. So the
No, it
promo
should have
films are
been, but-
actually out there.
Mm.
It was written up by the Chicago Tribune and Automobile Quarterly, but that's it.
Wow.
So
What?
here's the problem though, is that there was this book written a few years later that called the car unsafe, which I'm sure you probably heard of, like the unsafe Corvair.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
The problem is that this book was basically bullshit. So even though the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration proved that the claims in the book were false, it didn't matter because the Corvair's reputation was like ruined in the public's mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's not really fair. This car was a marvel of engineering at the time. It made it through some of the most unforgiving turf on earth. And there have only been, from what I understand, 2 other known expeditions through the gap.
Wow.
Yeah, since then. So in 1972, 1978, these are both much more well equipped. One of them was the British Army. The other one was a
Okay.
Jeep convoy. So like this is, but they still, these 2 convoys still had to pass by one of the rotting Corvairs that's in the jungle. And this thing is less than a mile from the border from Colombia. Like it almost made it.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. Yeah, they
Mhm.
really could have got it there, honestly.
Yeah.
They just-
Seriously.
someone had brought like a jerry can of gas.
If
Right.
they hadn't, if they
Would've
hadn't
been fine.
lost the Suburban, they probably would
Right.
have been able to winch it the mile.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it was a crazy stunt, but man, you got to hand it to the little Corvair, man. 2
I'm
Right.
curious how much that crazy little stunt costs.
Oh, I
Right.
don't know.
Chevy.
They
I don't
didn't
know.
get. It must have been way more than they got back. I'm assuming.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah. But 2
I
of
would
these
imagine.
little cars completed this
Wow.
totally impossible journey. So now, next time you think about the Corvair, you're gonna think about how
Yeah.
they're tough little
I have these
cars,
facts
huh?
to give out now. Just
Right?
Right.
I'm
I
sure
also
like I said,
didn't
I'm sure
real-
my dad and my brother know about, or at least my dad for sure. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd
Also
never
didn't-
heard of it. I'd
Really?
never
And I
heard of
didn't
it.
I didn't
Okay, well-
realize they were modeled after the bug.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I knew that
Yeah.
they had the rear mounted engine, but it didn't dawn on me.
Yeah.
Huh.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
if I give him a piece of vehicle information, I think we might implode. Like I think, like
The-
what?
The
did
world
you-
might
You're
just
gonna,
go.
yeah, you're gonna have to tell us what he says because now I'm because I talked to my dad about it. He didn't know either.
Really? Huh.
Mhm.
I'll have to ask my dad if he knows
Yeah,
about the Corvair going through the Huh.
going through the jungle. All right.
Insane.
So now you're ready for the next one. We're gonna head over to Cleveland, Ohio.
Ooh, it comes out of
As one
Cleveland.
does.
As one does.
Yeah.
Yes.
One does, yeah.
From the
Go from the
jungles of
jungle.
South America up to Ohio.
Yeah. So I actually lived in Cleveland for a couple years. I really liked it. It was the early 2000s.
Mhm.
When did we move up there? 2002, I think. Somewhere around there.
You really liked Cleveland, Ohio?
I did. I did like Cleveland. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons I moved back up north. Weird. But
Because you liked Cleveland.
yeah,
So you
but,
moved to Indiana.
well, it's right next door. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
You're right,
So,
it is.
but we are going again in the Wayback Machine. This is Cleveland in the 70s.
Ooh.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let me start by talking about Cleveland in the 70s. So it had been a big industrial city, obviously. Rust Belt, all that. It had a lot of focus on steel, but it had been hit pretty hard by the Great Depression in the 30s. There had been a slight resurgence by the 70s. But then a lot of the core industry, like the industrial industries that had been employing people in Cleveland were like leaving. So by 1968, Cleveland couldn't afford its port anymore. And it had to merge with the county. Yeah. Not going great in Cleveland in the late
no.
60s, early 70s. So parks and the transit system were also merged into a regional system because the city couldn't afford any of the upkeep.
Yeah.
And in 1969, the pollution in the Cuyahoga River, where the factories dumped all their waste, as you do.
Right.
As one does.
Yeah. Became so bad. And I'm pretty sure you guys probably heard about this, but the river got set on fire.
Mm.
Yeah.
It got set on fire. Like they just.
Yeah, like the river went up. And
Dang.
it wasn't the first time it had happened.
Oh, well.
Jeez.
Yeah. But this was the worst time. This is the worst time it had been set on fire. So the flames were like 5 stories high. Like this was a big deal.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's
so
crazy.
Cleveland is like the butt of jokes at this point. And it had been named the Mistake on the Lake. Have you heard that?
No.
It's called the Mistake on the Lake sometimes.
Well.
Dang.
Yeah. So by the mid 80s, city needs some positivity, right? So in September of 1986, there's a fundraiser for a local chapter of the United Way. And not only were they raising money by having people pay for these balloons, but they're trying to attract the interest of young people to like volunteer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's supposed to be like a really positive thing for the city and young
Who doesn't
people.
love balloons? You know.
Yeah.
Everybody loves balloons. Yeah.
Right.
Balloons are fantastic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this also wasn't the first million-plus balloon launch in the 80s, which I didn't know, but Disneyland in California had launched balloons in celebration of their 30th anniversary.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So this Balloon Fest, as it was called, was trying to beat that record.
Mm.
They ended up having about 2,500 volunteers, mostly high school kids. They had over 100,000 spectators that went downtown to witness this event.
Wow.
Yeah. So the original plan is to send up 2.2 million balloons out into the wild. They ended up stopping at 1.5 million. Just still a lot of freaking balloons.
Yeah.
That's a lot of balloons.
Yeah. Because of an incoming storm. Okay.
Oh boy.
So they had brought in this guy from LA who was helping to set this whole thing up. And they built like this huge structure on the square that had this mesh covering it so it could hold all the balloons inside. And it looks like, because there's video of this, but it looks like
I've seen this.
Yeah, it's like a tornado when these balloons go up, like tons of balloons.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. So it completely covers the Terminal Tower, which is probably like the most distinctive building downtown. Also, you will see it in A Christmas Story, which was filmed downtown Cleveland. But here's where the problems come in.
1.5 million balloons is
what could go wrong?
No problems there.
Yeah. Well, because like I know, like for us, we would have I think we'd call it Red Ribbon Week, and we would blow up, like we'd have like special. This was in elementary school. We'd have like each day was you could wear something special, kind of like a Spirit Week almost.
Okay.
But it was, I don't remember exactly what it was for. There's probably, it's probably still online, like what that would be for. But at the end of the week we would blow up red balloons and we let them go.
Okay.
Okay.
Just like the whole school or whatever.
I wonder
And I
if
don't
it
think, like-
was for the United Way or something.
Imagine. But at some point we stopped doing that because obviously it's not good to let out a bunch of balloons
No,
into the
it's
environment
not
Yeah.
really good for the environment. Yeah.
at all.
No, the
So we
birds,
did
the
stop. Yeah, we did stop that because I mean, all these kids are hearing about, of course, the effects of this, and so we're like,
Oh yeah.
probably shouldn't be doing this
Right?
anymore.
You don't
Right.
want to kill the birds and stuff. Yeah.
For real,
Yeah.
for real.
Yeah. So when these birds or when the birds are released, when the balloons are released, we end up colliding with the storm that's rolling in. Okay.
Oh gosh.
And when it did that, it pushed all the balloons down into Lake Erie. So about 60% of the launch balloons ended up covering the lake.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So there's a kind of a smaller airport. It's not like the main airport in Cleveland. It's called Burke Lakefront Airport.
Mhm.
Had to close for 30 minutes because of the balloons on the runway. Yeah.
No.
And
I can
you're
just imagine.
Oh
right.
my God.
And
They're like-
Monica, you are going to understand this one because this happens every year in Albuquerque.
Uh-huh.
Maybe not to this degree, but there's a 10
Traffic
car
jams.
pile up on the shoreway because either there are balloons on
Oh.
the road or
Or
people are watching them.
Yep.
Every year it happens.
Oh.
People are too busy watching balloons. I mean,
Hot air-
obviously hot air balloons,
So
but
yeah, we have balloon fiesta every single
Mhm.
year.
Oh,
And
Really
hot air
cool.
hot air balloons. It's the international balloon fiesta, and so people come from all over the world and they
Mhm.
bring balloons from all over the world. And it is absolutely spectacular to see. It is the most annoying thing to drive in traffic
you do not want
Yeah.
to drive
during
Imagine.
or near that area. Like you want to avoid
Uh-huh.
traffic if at all possible. Like you want to be
Right.
at the park
Mhm.
or you want to find a spot and just enjoy
Yeah.
it from afar. But I mean, it's beautiful and it's definitely a sight to see. I can't imagine though, like that number of balloons, like 1.5 million,
1.5 million red balloons. Yeah.
just
crazy.
and that we're just talking regular helium latex balloons,
Yeah.
right?
They're
Like
regular
Yeah.
balloons. Yeah.
All
All
yeah,
I can think
no.
of right now is 99 Luft balloons.
Yeah, if there was ever a song to play
Right?
over
That would be the one.
the
Yeah.
millions of balloons that are flying everywhere.
99 Luft balloons.
So another problem comes in because there are these two guys out fishing on the lake when the storm hits. They run this tiny fishing boat, like a John boat, which I always call a jack boat. I don't know why I always call it jack boat, but anyway, it's a little John boat. It's got an engine. Obviously not like a huge boat if you know what I'm talking about. But the storm rolled in. It was actually a pretty bad storm. It had like 40 to 60 mile an hour winds. Rain's like flooding the streets, and the two fishermen ended up reporting missing the next day.
Oh no.
And their boat is found on this break wall with life jackets still inside, but the engine was missing. The problem is that the
The
Coast
life
Guard,
jackets were still inside?
yeah.
Oh no.
So the Coast Guard is
Okay.
having a hard time finding these guys because of all the balloons on the lake. So it's hard to determine if they're looking at a bobbing head or a balloon in the water. So they can't tell.
Jeez.
That's
Yeah.
insane.
So
Yeah.
sadly, both fishermen are found dead over a week later.
Mm.
And the fishermen being lost can't really be contributed to the balloon launch because they were missing for about 14 hours before the launch.
Okay.
And they weren't wearing life jackets and the water was pretty
Mhm.
cold
Yeah.
and it's like a mess. But
Right.
at the time there was a report saying that a few days after the launch, the lake was cleared of balloons and that they luckily no longer posed a threat to wildlife. So
That's good.
yeah,
Yeah.
after a few days. So, it's fine.
It was gonna take a little while,
They had
but
a couple of days of the fish being
they
like,
got there.
what is happening?
Right. And then
why
it
did it get
goes
so
to like,
dark?
yeah, then
For
it goes
real.
to like a South Park thing where they're like, and I can't even tell you how much I kind of laughed when I saw this news report because it's an actual news report where they're like, it's no longer a threat to wildlife. And then you find out that, yeah, it's no longer a threat to wildlife in Cleveland, but that most of these balloons end up in Canada.
No.
Yeah. So they're like,
Oh,
it's cool.
God.
They're in Canada.
That's no big deal.
You push the
That's
problem
their-
away. It's
That's
not happening
their
to
problem.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being the person who came up with this idea though in the first place, this PR campaign, like,
Mm-mm.
Yeah. So
and
it's
just all the struggles. Oh,
yeah, but it's
geez.
actually like a success. Even with all these mishaps, um, it was the
You
last balloon launch to be recorded in the Guinness Book of World Records in 1988, and it did break the record.
okay.
And it did raise money and volunteering for the United Way. And it ended up bringing like tons of people together in Cleveland in a way that they hadn't been brought together years before. But
Mm-hmm.
Fair.
it's not really remembered that way, although it probably should be.
Yeah.
You you failed you failed incorrectly or you succeeded incorrectly or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So you guys ready to go back to Cleveland in the 70s?
Oh, geez. Let's
We don't have
do
to
it.
travel far. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So we're actually going before the balloon launch. So
Mhm.
remember, this is Rust Belt. People are not having good jobs right now. It's bad news. You know, shit's on fire. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the river.
Yeah. But yet one more reason why Cleveland has been called the mistake on the lake because of the sports teams.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Sports in Cleveland is a big deal, though. Okay. They've got the basketball team, Cavaliers,
Yep.
LeBron James. They have the poor Cleveland Browns. It's just bad.
Poor Browns. Yeah.
And the Cleveland Indians, which are now called the Guardians. But we're going to call them the Indians because this is what they were called when the incident happened that we're going to talk about.
Okay.
So the poor Indians, even to this day, haven't won a World Series since 1948.
Boy.
Yeah. So as you probably know, they were so much of a joke that the movie Major League was written about them in 1989. Have you seen this, Cam?
Mm-mm.
You've never
It's a
seen
good-
Major League?
I'm
It's
sorry.
it's a good flick.
I'm so sorry.
Harley Sheen? Come on, Wild Thing. Well, you have
Oh,
to
I
watch
work
it.
so I work with a kid around your age, Cam,
Mhm.
and at Halloween we were decorating our offices and we were having like an impromptu decorating contest between the offices. So the one next door to us decided to do Beetlejuice, and this
Ooh.
kid sat in that building or in that office. And so we asked him, me and this other girl that sits where I do, we asked him, we're like, well, have you seen Beetlejuice? And he was like, no, that came out before I was born. And I was like,
Oh,
See, no, I think
I was all, first of all, rude. Second of all, that means nothing. Like, I don't care if it came out before you were born.
Right.
You can still watch it. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
that is your homework this weekend. Go watch it.
Most of my references for movies, before I was born type stuff would be
Yeah.
like horror movies like Friday the 13th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Scream actually came out before I was born, I'm pretty sure.
The
Yeah,
first
I think
one
it came out
probably,
in
yeah.
98, somewhere around
Yeah,
there,
something
probably.
like that.
97,
Um,
98, yeah.
So like all those, like I'll get mostly those horror references from back then, but like
Okay.
sports movies, I'm not like I might have seen them when
Super.
I was a young child, but I didn't
Yeah.
rewatch them, later on in life.
Have you seen
or
Ted Lasso? Dude.
No.
All right, well,
Isn't
Ted
that on
Lasso. Yeah, it's
isn't that on like Apple TV
Apple
or something?
TV. Yeah, it's basically
Yeah.
the same story.
Okay.
Only with
I was
soccer.
gonna say Major League was probably not the most appropriate for children,
No,
so that may also be why you never saw it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It is a good
Well,
movie,
neither
though.
neither is Friday the 13th, but
That's true.
I
Well,
was yeah, I was a young
for
child
very different reasons.
watching horror movies.
That's okay. We could talk about half of the horror movie, or they weren't even horror movies. They were just children's movies from my childhood.
Watership
boy.
Down.
Yeah, Watership Down,
How is that a
Adventures of
children's
Nim.
book?
Come on.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Let's not get us started.
Or that stupid movie with the never-ending story. I hate that movie.
I love that movie. Falcor is the best.
I
Stop
hate
it.
that stupid big flying dog thing. He's
What?
scary
Falcor
as
is the
shit.
best.
He's the worst. He gave me
You
nightmares.
bite your tongue. Bite your tongue.
I just
He's
will
a
never
look-
get like I'll just never
he's
get
a
up with the
look-
horse. Artax? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That
Like
horse thing
Atreyu?
like ruined me for
Oh,
years.
absolutely.
Yeah. It
But-
must have really hurt that like why was there so much like sinking into holes and quicksand when we were kids, and I've never run into quicksand.
That's
Ever.
Yep. I really thought that was gonna be a bigger problem, honestly. People
Than
say
it
it all
is,
the
yeah.
time, and I'm like, yeah.
Right.
I thought I'd walk outside and fall in, honestly.
Pretty
Right.
much. Exactly. Also, Falcor's the best. Meg, you bite your tongue.
We're fighting after this.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So back to,
All right.
to Cleveland in the 70s.
Back to Cleveland.
Yeah.
We're back to baseball. All right. So attendance has been down at these games for a while because they suck. So in 1971, the Indians held promotions for cheap beer nights. So this night in June 1974 was a 10-cent beer night, which is about 59 cents today, which is like a
Okay.
huge discount over the normal 65-cent beers, which is about $3.86 in today's money, which is still way cheaper than a beer.
I was gonna say, and yet they're like $9,
right?
$9 to $12 at
Yeah.
a baseball. Like, and I'm talking what our AAA
Yeah.
ball team.
Can you
here.
imagine though if they were that cheap? Oh my God.
No,
So
it would be very bad.
yes, it is. So there are restrictions. So sort of, I can't even say that with the straight face.
Restrictions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there are restrictions, such as you can only purchase 6 beers at a time
No, that's it. You
At
can't
once.
carry 6?
at one time, but there's no limit on the number of purchases made during the game.
Huh.
Yeah. So you see where this
Ooh.
is headed, right?
Yeah.
Restrictions.
Yeah.
Job.
Okay,
Yeah.
so about a week before this game, which is a game against the Texas Rangers, there had been this huge brawl that cleared the bench in Texas at another game between the Rangers and the Indians. So after this incident in Texas, once the order was restored on the field, the craziness continues because Texas fans are hurling beer and food at the Indians players. And even one Indian player had to be restrained from like jumping into the stands to fight. Okay, so this is like a
Jeez.
big deal
Damn.
the week
Yeah.
before. And after the game, a reporter asked the Rangers manager if they were going to take your armor to Cleveland. And he does not, go down the best road here when he's like, nah, they won't have enough fans there to worry about.
That's messed.
Wow.
That's crazy.
So obviously this doesn't go down well with Cleveland fans.
Obviously.
They're feisty to begin with, like just on a normal day.
Mhm.
And it didn't help that radio and newspapers in Cleveland are fueling the fire of this
Mhm.
fight, right? So the game in Cleveland ended up drawing double the crowd that was expected. So there's about 25,000 fans in the stands, and they are downing these 12-ounce beers for stupid cheap. And they're getting hammered, like more hammered by the minute. They're just like, it's not good.
Yeah. It's escalating quickly.
Right. So the Rangers take an early lead of 5-1. Indians are pissed
Mhm.
at the Rangers. And even at one point, they hit a line drive into the Rangers pitcher and dropped him. So crowd is loving that.
Yeah.
But it's, kind of building and building.
Yeah, this is
So
stoking an already lit fire.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
So it's almost like a
Fire.
Motley Crue concert with girls like flashing their chests. They're trying to kiss the umpires. People are getting on the field to moon the fans. There was even a naked guy who sprinted to second base and then slid in with a
Ow.
yeah. So the sports writer says later, probably getting dirt in places unsuitable for speculation.
Oh my
The
goodness.
logistics of sliding
Naked.
Sliding in
naked
is
in
insane.
You have to be drunk to do that, right?
Oh yeah.
And it doesn't
Yeah.
matter which way he slid. Ow.
Yeah.
It really
Yeah,
doesn't
it's just
matter.
bad.
Like,
Mm-mm.
And
unsuitable.
then, because it's 1971 and you can do this, some fans also brought fireworks to the stadium.
Because
And
Oh,
they're
no.
yeah, and they're setting those off and they're throwing them on the field.
that's what the story needed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
come on, add fireworks to it. So
Mhm.
the Rangers' first baseman was hit with hot dogs,
Oh,
and even almost got hit with. I can't even
Oh,
say this with a straight face either. An empty gallon jug of Mad Dog 2020.
It was
Yeah, I guess so.
But yeah, because they're not going to
Mm-mm.
waste the alcohol on
a
Right,
this.
yeah.
gallon jug of, oh God, ugh,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
gallon jug.
Yeah, so they're messed up.
They're messed up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a different level of
Uh-huh.
wasted.
Mhm.
So by the 7th inning, most of the sober people and the families had left, probably because they could feel it getting pretty dicey there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by this time, the beer was taking too long to get at the concession stands.
Oh no.
Yeah. So some genius thought it's going to be a good idea to let fans line up behind the outfield fences and get their cups filled directly from the beer trucks.
Oh my
Insane.
God.
Yeah.
Chaos. Utter chaos.
Yeah.
Mhm. Can you imagine the idiot who was like, "Oh, this is a great idea. We're making so much money. Let's bring them out back. That's a good idea."
No.
Right.
Yeah.
God.
So
Oh
finally,
my
by the 9th
God.
inning, the Indians had tied the score 5-5. But
And meanwhile, they're still playing baseball.
How is it playable at that point? Yeah.
I don't know.
yeah, but this is too late to calm down the drunk as fuck crowd.
Yeah.
So this 19-year-old kid, he runs out on his field. He tries to steal one of the Rangers outfield's hat. Okay. The
Okay.
outfield guy kind of stumbles when he confronted the kid. The Rangers thought he was being attacked. And the Rangers manager, who we already know is kind of an asshole, tells his team to run onto the field with bats.
No.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh no.
So this is not a great move because the drunk
No.
crowd. And like I said, this is 1971, so you got to think back that they could still do this then.
Yeah.
Some of them have knives. They've got
Yeah.
chains. They have even torn apart these stadium seats and are taking them onto the field. So there's not the same kind of restrictions that they've got
God.
today.
Clearly not.
No, but they're like going with weapons
There are probably a lot of restrictions in
because
place
of this.
because of this
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So this drunk crowd is like running out onto the field with all these homemade weapons.
Improvised weapons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shanks.
Some of the crowd decides that they're going to stay in the stands though. And they're just
They're the
going to
smart
hurl
drunk ones.
bottles, cups, food, batteries. I don't even know where the hell they're getting batteries. And even some
What?
of the stadium chairs. Like they're ripping this place
Okay.
apart.
Jeez.
So the Rangers end up surrounded by about 200 pissed off Cleveland fans. So by this time, the Cleveland manager realizes that this is some serious shit. And he
Yeah.
orders his players to grab bats and try and help the Rangers get off the field. So this results in them even having to attack some of their own fans in the process. So the players on both teams are like
Oh.
fighting their way into the locker room. They lock the door because they're like, holy shit, like this is a freaking riot.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Crowd doesn't care. They are tearing
Of
up.
course not.
Yeah, no. They're tearing up the field. They're pulling up the bases and stuff. The riot continues like this for like 20 more minutes. And in typical, I guess, 1970s fashion, the radio guys continue their commentary live about what's
Oh.
going on.
That's gotta be hilarious. I'm sure that's somewhere.
Meanwhile,
It's somewhere out there, yeah.
Yeah, that's gotta be funny.
Yeah. So finally the
So-
police are called in. What were you
jeez,
gonna
it
say,
took
Monica?
that long. It took
Yeah.
that long. So I'm curious. All the money that they made on this promotion had to
Probably
go
went
right
to-
back into fixing
To
the
fixing the
stadium.
field.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And I'm sure some people did like lawsuits, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm
Oh, I
sure. I'm
would
sure.
So
think.
I'm sure there's money getting thrown around that
Although
way
it's
too.
the 70s, so maybe not as much. I don't know.
I don't know.
But yeah, so police are called in. The umpire ends up getting attacked because he forfeits the game to the Rangers. So he ends up getting hit with a rock in a stadium seat.
Shoot.
And
Oh my God.
he calls
Use-
he calls the fans uncontrollable beasts.
Yeah, that'll do it. That'll make
Yeah.
them, yeah.
Yeah. Which he's
That'll
not
help.
wrong.
That'll help your cause,
For
though.
real, for real. I mean,
Yeah.
at that point, as the umpire, like, use context clues. What do you think's the safest way to get out of here?
Yeah.
Not
Right.
to do what you just did.
No,
Uh-uh.
At
no.
all.
I wouldn't have
Forget
said
the
shit for like 2
Rangers.
more days. I would have been like, done, yeah.
Seriously. I'd have been like,
Walk away.
Yep.
we're not calling the game. We have no definitive call on that game yet.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
don't know. We're gonna have to see the replay. So the Indians players had to escort the Rangers back onto their bus. And a sports writer, he's like trying to interview fans about what's going on, even gets punched in the face. Like they don't care at this point.
They
do
are
not give
just
two
looking
shits. Yeah.
for
No.
Yeah.
They were looking to get rowdy.
So the Indians manager blamed the umpires for losing control of the game.
Because the umpires
Okay.
are in control of the crowd.
Right.
Yeah.
And sports writers slammed him for his perspective because they're like, what the hell are you talking about? And the American League president said there was no question that beer played a part in the riot. You think?
Oh, you don't say.
Really?
You don't say.
That's the thing that's
Wow.
like, obviously.
Right.
And the way you handled it as well. Like,
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
that was the whole basis of the entire game to begin with.
for
It was
real.
cheap ass beer.
So only 9 people are arrested. Just crazy to me.
Okay. What are they charged with? Does
How
they?
did the cops
I don't
choose
know.
those 9?
I don't know.
Yeah, they were like,
Right?
Meeny, meeny, miny, mo.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And get this, in typical Cleveland fashion, they continued cheap beer night. This did not stop them, although there were
No.
more restrictions that only 2 cups per person were going to be sold at a reduced price.
Were there a restriction on the number of purchases?
It didn't say. So,
okay.
I
yeah,
can imagine.
yeah.
So
But
you
they
can't
continued
carry
it.
as many.
Right,
Right.
yeah.
Two.
It'll be fine.
So it'll
You just
slow
have
it
to-
down.
You have to come back more often.
Right, right.
Mhm.
That'll deter people from drinking that much.
Yeah.
Right. Oh yeah, good times.
So that's Cleveland in the 70s. So we're
Oh,
going to go
yeah.
back a little bit further to 1967. So
Are we still in Cleveland?
no.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, okay.
All right. So 1967, United Airlines runs a promotion. They gave a third off of a ticket for the wife of a businessman. This is so 1960s. Who
Oh
was
my
flying
gosh.
if he took her along.
No.
Wife of a business.
Yeah.
Like she's carry on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Insane.
It also had discounts on car rentals, hotels, and you could even charge it. It says in the ads. Yeah. So there's this whole big marketing campaign complete with a song. You can find these ads on YouTube. They are
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Exactly what they sound like.
Yeah, exactly what they
Uh-huh.
sound like.
Yep.
So the song is actually from a 1959 Bob Merrill musical called Take Me Along, which actually had Jackie Gleason in it. And the TV commercials that were directed by the same guy who directed The Deer Hunter, the
Oh.
movie. So yeah.
Okay.
But the song is the big deal in the campaign, okay? So they even printed like sheet music in the magazines. United distributed a record with behind the scenes look on how the campaign was produced. And
Random.
they even included the audio for the commercials. So this is like, yeah. Here's a song.
Take it. Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's okay.
It's so weird. It's so weird. But the commercials, like I said, are on YouTube if you want to see them. Full 1960s cringe.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Complete
Ooh, yeah.
60s cringe.
Yep. So the first year they run this campaign, United's revenue rose 30%, though, which is
Wow.
about 10% higher than the rest of the airlines industry that year.
Huh.
Can you foresee the problem with this?
People weren't taking their wives.
Yeah. So apparently,
Businessmen weren't taking their wives with them. Duh.
yeah. So apparently, the first year United Airlines sent out thank you letters home, which did not go well with some of the
'Cause it-
wives that didn't
Because
actually
the
go.
wives didn't go on the trips.
Oh no.
Yeah, but they got this thank you letter saying, "Oh, thanks for coming on this trip."
Thanks for flying on. Oh, wow.
Yeah. So some of these husbands
Oh.
ended up taking their side chicks with them, and it became an issue at home.
Yeah.
Mhm.
As it would.
Yeah. But overall, the campaign was successful. They even ran it for a couple more years, although I couldn't find anything on if they continued to send out the thank you letters. I feel like they didn't.
Yeah.
I would imagine they didn't.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
feel like there were a few airline officials that were
They
also
got feedback.
partaking of
Oh
said
yeah, got
campaign.
feedback.
Yeah,
Got some angry letters. Yeah. So that one's crazy to me though, because they built this whole thing around a musical song.
Yeah.
So odd.
Yeah.
They released a record.
Yeah.
What?
It's crazy.
And this banger from Delta
Yeah,
Airlines.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Wow.
that one's fun. All right. This one is really cool. And I'd never heard of this one, and I wish I would have seen it. But we are going to London in 2012.
Oh,
Okay.
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 So Tropicana Orange Juice runs an ad campaign in the 2010s that was the Brighter Mornings campaign. They did a couple of cool stunts, but their lighting up of Trafalgar Square in London is one of the best.
Hmm.
This wasn't the first time that they'd pulled this off. It was done in the Canadian Arctic in 2010. But for this stunt in London, they basically made an artificial sun. So they took 60,000 light bulbs and they built them on these circular rings. And then they add this fabric skin and then they hooked it to this crane. So the sun is 30,000 times the size of a soccer ball. It's
Okay.
huge, right?
Yeah.
It had 210,000 watts of lighting.
Oh,
It weighed over 5,500 pounds.
wow.
Yeah. And when they tested this, the lights got so hot, over 212 degrees, at the top that it starts to melt cables. So they had to add yeah, extra fans.
jeez.
Good thing they tested it, right?
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. Yeah, imagine
Mhm.
Oh,
the sun
But-
falling out of the sky.
Right?
right.
But all this happens at the square at 6:15 or 6:51 in the morning in January of 2012, so it's cold.
Mhm.
But Tropicana sets up all these seats for people to come and hang out. They had blankets. They ended up handing out about 35,000 little cartons of the juice for people that came to see it.
That's cute.
So yeah, they had like a lot of people come and see it, and it's really cool.
Huh.
And I wish I had known about it because I don't remember this at all. But
I don't either.
Yeah,
mhm.
I also, the nerd in me wants to see the crane that's
me too.
There
I want to
is-
see.
lifting it.
Yeah, there is a YouTube out there about how they made it too. So
Oh,
Like,
wow.
I want to see the crane.
yeah, so
What
it's
happens when you work in construction?
Yeah,
it's really
right.
cool. I mean, like, can you imagine like how much went into that
Seriously.
just for them to make a sun?
I
That's
know.
pretty
surprised, like,
ambitious.
Nothing went wrong at
Yeah.
all. Just
Well, but they had done it
It got-
before.
Yeah.
okay.
It got hot, so they had to add fans, but they tested it,
But
so it
other
didn't
than
really.
that,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
But like I
That's
said, they had
impressive,
done
though.
it before in the Canadian Arctic a couple
Right.
years before, so they kind of knew the drill.
I'm wondering if I'm wondering how much steam, because if it gets really hot and then it's cold outside, doesn't it like is there any like when your hot breath meets the cold
Yeah.
air,
I don't.
that type of thing?
I don't
I
know if
didn't
there's
see
enough
any, but-
moisture. I
Maybe
don't know if
not.
there
Yeah.
would be enough moisture to unless there's moisture in the air, which I
That's
mean,
what
if
I
there's
was-
enough
yeah.
of it, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool
Interesting.
stunt, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Making a sun. Look at you, Tropicana.
Right?
Good on you, Tropicana.
Mm-hmm.
I totally would have gotten up early to go and see that.
Heck
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
And you don't get up early for shit.
not for anything. As well, there you go. Weird PR stunts. Which one was your
I love
favorite?
it.
Balloons. I gotta
The
like
the out of control baseball game.
Tencent.
oh, and I forgot we started off with the Corvair.
Corvairs.
Oh my
yeah.
gosh, yes, that too.
Seems like so
that-
long ago.
For real, for real. That one was close. That one's close. But I
Yeah.
like the balloon story too. Just I don't know.
It's a feel good story. I mean,
Yeah,
except for
yeah.
the two guys dying.
Except
But
for
that
the-
was 14 hours before. So
Well, in Canada dealing with the aftermath, but you know, whatevs.
blame Canada.
All the balloons got free healthcare, so it was
That's
fine. Yeah.
Totally okay. That makes everything all good.
Yeah. Well, go and check out some of the stuff on YouTube. You'll definitely want to see some of the riot and the
Yeah.
balloons going up and stuff like that. So
I'm gonna have to look up the balloons just because I want to see that structure.
Yeah, it's
Mm.
really cool. It's really cool. All right. Well,
Yeah.
thank you, Monica and Cam, listeners, for getting into the petty details of some PR
Yes.
stunts with me. All right, guys.
Anytime.
Stay petty, my friends. Bye.
See ya.
Thank you, Monica, our guest hosts, and listeners for getting into the petty details with me today. Stay petty, my friends.